Back in 2022, WB Games released LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, the much-anticipated spiritual successor to the original 2007 fan favourite LEGO Star Wars Saga. However, the 2022 title left a lot of fans feeling underwhelmed, to say the least. Whether you were loading between small rooms, escorting gonk droids, speeding through the tiny story levels that are so short they only have 5 mini-kits, escorting random NPCs, playing the walking simulator sections of the story, escorting gonk droids, forking out extra money for all the characters even though you already bought the deluxe edition, loading between small space areas, or escorting more gonk droids. It's safe to say the 2022 version doesn't hold a candle to the original games. All the charm and simplicity of the original games was lost in favour of modern-day LEGO's more movement means more funny style that they've been stuck doing since the release of the LEGO Movie back in 2014. And while many of the issues may just boil down to the new development team simply lacking the experience, competence and care of the original developers, I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of the problems can be attributed to the Nintendo Switch. Now hear me out. It's no secret that the Nintendo Switch outsold both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One considerably, with over 143 million units sold as of the time I'm making this video, versus the PS4's 117 million and the Xbox One's 58 million. So the big bucks for game developers are definitely coming from the Switch. Unlike back in the good old days, where they'd release multiple versions of a game so that the PC, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 would receive the main version of the game, the Wii and the PS2 would get a slightly cut down version, and the Nintendo DS would get some cursed, unholy well, the less said about that the better. Because companies these days are more focused on bottom lines and shareholders, and since traditional portable consoles like the PS Vita and 3DS aren't a thing anymore, most of the time they'll just make a one-size-fits-all version of the game and stretch it across all platforms. Since the Nintendo Switch is the best-selling but also the weakest of the main 3 consoles, it's cheaper and easier for companies to just make one version for the Switch and polish it off for PC, Xbox and PlayStation, instead of making a cutting-edge game for all the other platforms and watering it down for the Switch. And since power-wise the Nintendo Switch is more on par with the PS3 and Xbox 360 than the 8th gen consoles, let alone the 9th gen consoles, this means that we're all basically stuck playing a shiny Xbox 360 game, almost 2 decades after the system originally released. And nowhere does this show more than in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Hub worlds in LEGO games have shifted over the past 2 decades from small respite areas between levels with not much more than a little shop, a few Easter eggs and an area to view your mini-kit collection, into huge cities and open worlds where story levels are merely an afterthought, just to break up the repetitive, fetch-questy, collect-a-thon gameplay. So the Skywalker Saga was the perfect opportunity for a return to form with some classic fun LEGO adventures. Unfortunately, this was not the case, and most of the missions take place in a single room, where they only have 5 mini-kit canisters instead of the traditional 10. The other half of the story levels are nothing more than walking simulators with no objectives or collectibles whatsoever. These parts are extra terrible if, like me, you turned on mumble mode just to save yourself from the terrible imitation voice acting.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
Outside!
They've tried to extend the replayability of these levels by adding finicky little challenges to each level, which only adds to the monotony of the repetitious gameplay. Since the game was in development for 5 years, the small levels must have been done so they'd run on the Switch. In the same time frame, 2007 to 2012, LEGO released LEGO Star Wars Saga, LEGO Indiana Jones, LEGO Batman, LEGO Rock Band, LEGO Indy 2, LEGO Harry Potter, LEGO Star Wars 3, LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, LEGO Harry Potter 2, LEGO Batman 2, and LEGO Lord of the Rings. These games between them include hundreds of levels and over a dozen hub and open worlds, many of which are far bigger than any of the ones in the Skywalker Saga. And they made entirely different versions of those same games for portable consoles. Either way, the level problems wouldn't have been so noticeable if it wasn't for the game is mostly comprised of these tiny open world environments, where even the smallest open world areas contain separate interiors for buildings, marked out by the ethereal glowing yellow lights. Ugh. Just look at the difference between Mos Eisley and 2022's Skywalker Saga versus 2017's Battlefront 2. This has obviously been done so it can run on the Switch. But surely at the very least they could have removed the transitional doorways for the PS5 and Series X versions, and just rendered the interiors of the buildings with the rest of the tiny open world environments. Especially since some of these interior rooms have next to nothing in them anyway. It would be like some guy in a few boxes. But I guess the devs literally didn't want to put in any effort whatsoever for the other platforms. These open world environments are so small and cut down that you can't even fly the vehicles in atmosphere like you could in 2009's LEGO Indiana Jones 2 on the PS3. Or 2004's Battlefront for PS2. Or 2007's Battlefront Elite Squadron on PSP. Instead, the game will just load between the small open world to a small cut and paste space environment. Like, come on, I just want to fly around Coruscant on PS5 or Series X without it just being a bunch of hidden loading screens. How is it that a game released on 9th gen consoles in 2022 is less ambitious than a PSP game from over 15 years before?
It's the Nintendo Switch.
The ground vehicles also all seem to go at the Book of Boba Fett's Vespa chase scene speed, in an attempt to hide how small the environments are. While the LEGO games have never been known for their difficulty, except for the original pod race level in LEGO Star Wars 1, or trying to hit all those gold space bird thingies in LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga takes the challenge to a new low, replacing the old 4-heart system with massive health bars, and replacing the old boss battles where you double jump slam the boss 10 times, force objects back at the boss, or swap character while being hit with force lightning. With button mashing sections where if you sit there not pressing anything you don't even lose your studs. The Nintendo Switch's target demographic of young children and families is likely responsible for this too. The only challenge in this game is seeing how long you can tolerate the game's repetitious use of the same few objectives. Escort missions, swapping to a specific class and using their one unique ability to require a blue brick, race, collect the items, or an NPC chase. Now, before this video turns into an hour-long breakdown of LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga,
I think Coolsville sucks. No, don't record that.
I'm gonna leave it at that. How many of this game's shortcomings do you think are down to it being made for the Nintendo Switch? And how much do you think were just bad game design? Let me know how you felt about the Skywalker Saga.